Hey, good people. Sammy Ashe here, Executive Director of the Ashe Academy, and your host of our Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. It's officially Thankful and Giving season. We're super excited for our third annual The Pharm to Table. This year, we're coming together again to hold conversations on meditation, mindfulness, yoga, gratitude, and of course, mental health. Tune into our socials leading up to November 20th as we share out some videos that will get you into the spirit before we hold these important conversations. We've also got two fundraisers, one for Food Share of Ventura County and the other Tender Life Maternity Home. Those links will be in the description box, so be on the lookout. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Ashe Academy's Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. I am Sammy Ashe, and today we are joined by one of my oldest friends, Diego Alamir. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a long overdue conversation.
Thank you, Sammy. I really appreciate you being here with me today. I'm super excited to talk about um, whatever questions that you have for me surrounding technology, work, what got me into things for the Ashe
Beautiful.
Academy. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let's get into your intro and we'll talk about the whole journey. So, once again, Diego Alamir, who is a Latino, he is a supervisor in customer support and experience at Dapper Labs, founders of CryptoKitties and NBA Top Shot. He has 12 years experience in technology, has worked at Smart Recruiters, Greenhouse, Yahoo, acquired by Verizon Media, now Dapper Labs, and is traditionally educated in sociology, who decided to enter technology. So let's talk about that. Like, why did you decide to go into tech, and what's that journey there like to explore it as an option?
Yeah, definitely, Sammy. So, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to chat. It's been a while. And as you mentioned, we have a long history. I think you were my first friend when I moved to the Southern California area, actually.
Legend has it that is the truth.
No, it's not a legend. It's not a legend. It is the truth. But yeah, just stoked to be here today. Really, what got me into technology, and especially moving from a sociologist, was that sociology was the thing that allowed me to engage with my fellow people in society, essentially, and understand how like folks engage, understand human behavior, understand like social trends, things like that. And considering that I always grew up gaming, um, and you know I guess being a child of the internet, essentially,
Mhm.
um, I was always wondering, how can I plug in that skill set, essentially, into technology. And what I realized was that technology had a gap where something was growing. Customer experience, customer service, customer support, all that stuff was expanding to a higher level of engagement and the needs to accomplish um, really high levels of satisfaction for consumers and just customers and collectors, whatever aligned, right? Um, so I found that sociological skills allowed me to jump into technology, especially coming from a gaming and internet background.
Mhm.
My dad, I had two dads, but my dad's really instilled that in me growing up about just technology in general. I remember my first like Lisa Macintosh, various things where I'd play with like a floppy disk this big, and so those are some of the early stages that got me interested in tech. And now I'm just very humbled to be able to um, create human experiences in a ever growing technology and artificial intelligence kind of world, of course. So
Awesome, awesome. When I was considering tech, I always thought of it as something that you had to have technical skills and code, which was probably what took me so long for my own journey. Did you have that myth busted very early, where it's like I don't have to code, or did you explore coding? I
that's
know
a
you
great
were what?
question. That's a great question. So traditionally speaking, coding seems to be the path towards entering technology. Now, I think that's changing every day now, and I think it's changed so much that now, being someone who's good at sales or good at marketing, good at customer service, good at a variety of things. Even like if you can show a project that you've worked on and started and developed and succeeded in, that's a way into technology as well. So you don't have to be a coder anymore per se, but I will say that I did take coding classes in high school. We went to the same high school, so I did take some coding in high school, which I will share a fun fact. We actually, I don't know. I hope this is not incriminating, but it is. That's the subject line of a fun fact. Uh, we essentially were able to figure out how to break into the school system's grading system, and we're able to like change someone's grades. Um,
Oh wow.
Now we didn't do it because we were too afraid to do it. So
Thank
nothing happened.
goodness.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. You know what I mean? But I took some coding classes back then. The best thing that I made was like uh, a monkey on this side, or a gorilla on this side, a gorilla on this side, and they were like tossing bananas at each other, trying to hit each other. And then the more hits that you got, the more damage that was done. So it's kind of like my first video game, I guess. Um, and then after that, really what I did was start getting into building websites, and trying to create like an e-commerce business. So there is some learning of coding involved at the end of the day. It's not required today, like for the most part, but it doesn't hurt to learn some of the foundational skills of coding, whether that's just the basics of JavaScript and HTML. I think that goes a long way. And a good example of that is like if you have experience making Tumblr blogs or working with WordPress or anything like that, or if you don't work with WordPress, maybe get one, or even Squarespace or things like that. Those are really great opportunities to get engaged with a little bit of coding without it being super sophisticated. Um,
Yeah.
so I
I mean,
always
knowing
encourage,
a content management system
yeah,
is super helpful regardless of what it is. Just having that skill set will take you
certainly,
far.
certainly.
Well, I also think from a leadership standpoint, having as many, knowledge bases across the teams that you would interface with, because if you're in customer support, there's a dev team, there's all these different teams that work together to make the company function properly, back end and front end and whatnot. So it would definitely not hurt for you to know not a working knowledge per se, because there's a lot of in the weeds things that I do not know about coding that I'm like, that's not for me. That's really just
Yeah.
not. But still, like knowing, okay, this is what they're working on. It's probably going to take them that long. You will probably leave your teammates alone, or know a timeline of it's going to take 2 weeks because they have other priorities. So
To your point, Tammy. That's a great point. Like, and again, to reiterate, it's not about having to know the knowledge of coding and stuff like that, but for any industry, whether it's hospitality, restaurants, whatever it is,
mhm,
you want to have a base level knowledge of the industry and be able to navigate through that that realm, right? So I think that I've seen a lot of people that I would never have imagined learning some basic foundations of code, um, do so, and there's so many free resources out there today,
mhm.
and I'm always happy to share those with the Ashe Academy if needed, for as like extra resources and things like that. But it just takes some initiative and it takes some excitement to be in the industry that you're in. And pretty much anything is possible at that point. So I'd like to just, share that because as a sociologist going into technology, like it doesn't sound normal. I would feel like so.
It makes
Uh,
perfect sense to me, though. I'm like, okay, that's a perfect natural progression. Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
certainly, like you don't have to be a coder to do it, but it's always great to have knowledge of your industry is I guess the point I'm trying to make.
Awesome, awesome. Now, you did mention parents, but did you have any notable teachers or professors along the way, mentors that kind of pushed you in the direction of tech, or just guided you into whatever you are dabbling in um, throughout your career?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. And it's good because actually I didn't have really. And if I look up, I'm just looking around. Like, sorry, I look to the skies for answers. Um, Essentially, I don't think I really had teachers or professors that really influenced me, and that's unfortunate to say, I guess. But I'm being honest.
Yeah.
What I think really influenced me was once I got in the door as an intern, which I highly recommend to everybody. If you can get an internship prior to graduation, which was fortunately my case, that makes a lot of opportunities available for you and allows you to jump to new opportunities essentially, once you prove a little foundation of what you've achieved. So I would say teachers and professors didn't really inspire me too much. I remember when I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, actually one of my sociology professors was shocked to see me on the stage and said, uh, "Oh, you made it," and shook my hand and handed me my diploma. So I don't think there was much inspiration in that regard. It was all like self motivation and things like that. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I have had leaders at startups that I've worked at that really, really showed me what it takes to be an effective employee, to help me grow into becoming a leader, personally speaking. Um, you know, uh, Knowing my craft essentially, and then growing from there. So, what calls to me is Smart Recruiters, which was a HR technology company that allowed applicants to apply, and then their application would go into a system, and that system would allow for interviewers to like kind of share feedback and all this stuff, so that you have a process for recruitment versus just like reaching out to folks, right?
Mhm.
And hoping. Um, and at that place, that's where I really honed my skills to become a customer support, customer experience leader in general, because we got to build a team and I was a part of the hiring process, all these things. And so that's where I felt leadership was really effective in the sense of helping my growth in my career and what I was looking to achieve.
Awesome. I will say something similar myself in terms of mentors, either being later in life or just not at all. Like someone, I don't have anyone that I would regard as like specifically my mentor. And part of the reason why the Ash Academy exists is to kind of address that for people who maybe don't know how to start that type of relationship or dynamic with someone where they would be their guidance, or it just doesn't work out and you're wondering why hasn't anyone taken me under their wing. So yeah, definitely see that. I do have some teachers that I shout out, but um yeah, no one gets that mentor status. They
I think if I were to shout out a couple of teachers, and I don't remember their names, but it would one be the lady that told me what she said on stage, like she whispered in my ear. But she was one of the most influential professors in the sense of understanding the immediate impacts and what's happening in society today. She like really provided a really great insight for me to understand like the sociological imagination. um, and then the other teacher that I had, I don't remember her name either, but she made a big impact on myself in the sense of understanding a lot of multiculturalism and sex and gender and identity and things like that. So I think those are two professors that were the most influential people in my sociological growth, which I think has really, to be honest, the man that I am today has helped. I think that helped develop the person that I am today that you're speaking with. So I
awesome,
think
awesome.
I don't remember their names. I wish I did, but definitely both women, and definitely both super influential in my life, for sure, during my time at San Francisco State, just to clarify.
Awesome. Yeah, I recently spoke about teachers, and I was like, you may not remember their name and everything, but no one will ever forget how you treated them and their impact on your life. So maybe the name may not be that important, but their impact on you is super important and something that you carry with you. Like you probably can remember parts of their classes more so than their name, but that's super important for a teacher or professor to understand. Like people carry with them outside of your classroom for the rest of their life. So shout out to all the teachers out there. And the more you're talking about sociology, I'm forgetting that I wanted to double major in sociology after I graduated. I was like, I should have gotten a double major in film and sociology because I loved sociology so much, and I wish I had actually formally uh, studied it. I love Black Studies classes specifically, and I was just like,
So did you major in film, Sammy?
yeah, film
So
production.
that's this is really funny. And I'm sorry to go off topic. It's
No, go for it.
podcast where, like,
This is your conversation.
yeah, we're talking. I hope the listeners are happy with it. But uh, essentially, my sister did the same thing. She got a master's degree in screenwriting, and like her whole focus was film. But guess what? Through her time exploring film and the types of content that she wanted to create, she became a big investigator, I guess, or interested in sociology, essentially, like,
Mhm,
and just like life struggles, like social models, why this, why that, things like that. And so your story resonates very much so with me because, not only is it personal in the sense of my own family, kind of has felt that way, but
mhm.
I think that that's a level of truth. Like, once you do see certain things, if you're a good filmmaker, or I mean, that's subjective to me, I guess. But if you're a good filmmaker or anything like that, you're sharing the light of the truth and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Or, maybe maybe someone's style is warping the truth to create a fun experience that everybody recognizes is not real, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I respect what you just said, and I just resonated with it a bit and wanted to share a little example about my personal family kind of experiencing the same thing. And if you hear my
Absolutely.
dogs barking, sorry about
No worries, no
that.
worries. So there is still time. Although I keep talking about getting this JD, this law degree, but eventually there will be a doctorate, and it might be in sociology. I think
Let's
that
go.
makes the most sense. So
Go get it. Let's go get it, Sam.
I appreciate it, but who's gonna pay for all of these degrees? I would like
I
to
know, right?
know. We need a
Biden.
sponsor.
I hope Joe Biden pays for him. I don't know.
Cancel my
Like,
debt. Please cancel my
yeah.
debt. So as we're talking about sociology and really peeling back the layers, it's human based. So what was it about customer support or customer experience that drew you in? Because that is not everyone's favorite aspect of anybody's company, let alone tech. But like you have to deal with people. Why do you want to deal with the people?
That's an excellent question, honestly. And sometimes I want to say, like, I don't know why. Um,
That's a fair answer. It's just like I found my
but
niche. I'm here. That's it.
yeah, it's my niche, and I'm here. I'm doing it. I don't know. I'm good at it. Things like that. Like, is the honest, like, just basic answers to me. In all honesty, like, people find things that they're good at. They, at the end of the day, I like to promote that. Like, folks look for what it is. For example, back in the day when I was a child, my mom would say, um, I don't care what it is that you do when you grow up, but be the best at it, and do your best. Not be the best, but do your best.
Hmm.
And she specifically said, I don't care if you're the garbage man. Do your best. Be the best garbage man in the neighborhood, right? Um, and so when I think back to that, it really inspired me to realize like I have a lot of opportunity to do whatever it is that I want to do, but simply to be really good at it, you know, and to put effort into it, make an impact, to value what it is that I'm doing. Um, so when I think of customer support, because customer service is a term that like I'd like to apply more to retail, in all honesty,
Mm,
but customer support or technical support applies to like more like software based solutions, I guess.
hmm
Um, and so what I really enjoy is improving processes within organizations that help drive customer experience. So like not only solving your problem, but making you happier, right?
mm,
Um, and there's something about essentially solving issues and like addressing questions from people that is really satisfying, um, especially beyond that, because you start to be able to build like proactive strategies to how do you say, like, I mean, like to foreshadow what customers might
mm,
have problems with and
yeah.
help them address them prior to them experiencing the problem. So that challenge,
Preemptive.
yeah, that challenge in itself is very interesting to me. Um, trying to understand not only just fixing problems, but being proactive and thinking about like what problems might arise and how can we go about alleviating those things prior to them coming up so that we increase your satisfaction. I'm not sure why that makes me like excited, you know, like I really don't know why, but like um, it is a project management type of area, um, does require data and reporting and understanding like numbers and things and like how many people come in and how many issues they have, what are the issues they're having, all of these things. Um, and so I think it's when you think about entering a technology company but not having engineering background, this is the kind of background that you can bring in that is impactful, um, that you also feel positive about, you know, and it doesn't require any sense of coding whatsoever. It's
Yeah.
essentially project management or product management, which is super important. So I'll pause there because I've been talking for a moment here, but yeah.
This is your turn to speak. Don't worry about it. I think that just makes me reflect on getting my MBA, realizing that I loved statistics, loved data, and I was like, why did it take me so long to actually care about numbers in this way? Because we're literally researching something and like, okay, you can draw a conclusion. It may not be causal based on whatever your hypothesis was, or you're drawing up your thesis, but like I can still look at the data and say this is probably the reason why something happened, or you can explain or argue certain things and then make decisions with people based on how much they're going to spend on advertising. Like all these things, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense. Context was super important for me, which is why when I was working with Yardi systems, I was learning to code, and I was like, okay, if I'm impacting a website, this is the context that I needed. How important is context for you on anything that you're learning?
Oh, context is extremely important. And I'll just draw to a specific example right now. You know, of course, I'm working at Dapper Labs, and we've built NBA Top Shot. We've recently announced a partnership with the NFL, La Liga, which is one of the most amazing soccer leagues in Barcelona, just in the world in general.
Mhm.
That's where Messi and everybody plays. Uh, we got a lot of stuff going on, right? And I've built the team that I've been leading has built a couple of chatbots, and these chatbots are based on machine learning, and the machine learning is very intelligent. Like, and it actually required me to like go through training and learning of my own to become better at machine learning. Um, so you're always learning. Trust me. Even once you get to a role, you're always learning. Um,
And if you're
uh,
not, there's a problem.
yeah, exactly. Uh, um, Sorry, Sam, what did you say again?
Context. Why is context so important? You did say it
Oh,
was, but
yes,
like,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
why is context
So,
important?
yeah, sorry about that, everyone.
No.
With the bot, you know, if we have context, like let's say help center resources, documentation, articles, blog posts, whatever collateral that we can get from, essentially what it comes down to is like marketing and community providing those things. When
Mhm.
it comes to a traditional, let's say, I'd say any company, but in my experience, technology companies, um, you need all of that collateral. And that's super important because that helps us complete our work in the sense of keeping everything aligned and
Mhm.
building the right answers and the right, what we call chatbot flows, meaning when you ask a question, certain answers get, you know, delivered throughout
Mhm.
that journey. That's what's called, we call a flow. Um, so all the collateral we can get makes those flows and makes that experience that much better. And the more we're aligned as a team when it comes to our announcements, our documentation, our resources, our proactive resources such as the chatbot, stuff like that, just makes us a lot stronger. So I recommend that for any organization, any project that someone's working on, just aligning all their resources to make sure that um, those resources are helping to achieve the overall goal of success that is defined by either you or, you know, the project manager that you're working under.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think this is a perfect segue into discussing NFTs. I want to give you the floor to just, share, tell our audience ways that they can get a little bit more acquainted with. I hope I'm saying it correctly too, because I've been doing some Googling lately, but non-fungible tokens.
You're saying it absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I've said it wrong too. I've like non-fungible, non-fungible. Like, what is this? Like, you know,
But what
trust me.
is it? Why is it important for our community? So, students of color and their parents, why is this an opportunity for us to get in the know and
Okay,
make decisions?
this is a big opportunity, and I might sound a little crazy when I'm talking about
Get
this.
on your soapbox. Get
I
on
might,
your soapbox.
I might
Go on.
even step on my words, things like that. So I apologize in advance, everyone who might be, you know, like listening and stuff like that. Um, Essentially, non-fungible tokens, which, okay, so I work at a company called Dapper Labs, and Dapper Labs creates products that are based on non-fungible tokens. Now, Dapper Labs created their own blockchain network called Flowchain because Ethereum had really high transaction rates when you buy and sell. So we ended up creating our own called Flowchain and then host a bunch of NFT companies on it. So we call ourselves the NFT company. And this is not an advertisement for Dapper Labs, but I'd just like to share. This is an intro to what I'm
It's
about to say.
context.
Yeah. Um, uh, so essentially, we made it easier for folks to be able to buy NFTs, own them, and then resell them. Now, what an NFT is that it's essentially, think about it like a patent on digital content. That's essentially really, really what it is. So for example, if everyone remembers the little girl that is sitting there smiling and pointing back to like the house on fire, that like meme,
Hmm.
um, that artist who created that meme does not receive any royalties or anything on the content that they created. It's, you can copy it, you can repost it, you can do whatever you want with it. That person, up until the world of NFTs, would not be able to do anything about it. Now, what they can do is essentially, we call it minting. They mint the content, but minting essentially associate that with, they patent it.
Okay.
So it becomes, you can copy it if you want, but that's not legal and you can be sued. So that's why you're seeing a lot of major artists like Beeble and other folks hosting their artwork on auction houses such as Sotheby's, which is one of the most renowned art houses in the world. Um, and he recently sold something for, I believe, like $30 million or just, an
Mm,
NFT. Um, so the NFT space is essentially a digital collectorship market where you can own something digitally. Think of a comic book or a stamp or a coin or something like that, or a Pokemon card, essentially, but it's digitally collected and stored.
mm,
So one, it cannot be destroyed because it's digitally stored. Um, and then two, it still drives value. Essentially, you can sell it and you can trade it. And a lot of companies are gamifying this process. So,
mm,
for example, at our company, NBA Top Shot, you can buy certain NBA moments, and we also have WNBA moments, just so everybody knows, um, and buy them at a lower price and then sell them at a higher price based on like the digital collectorship that others are really, really wanting, right? Um, so there's a ton of opportunity, and I think at the end of the day, the main opportunity is flexibility in financial opportunity. So like not everybody has opportunity to get into the stock market or various things, but like cryptocurrency is something that definitely allows unrecognized communities and minority communities, and as someone themselves, like people of color and such, to take back ownership of their creations and also ownership of their money. Um, we think about it as like an investment opportunity here in the United States, but like when you think about other countries, they think about cryptocurrency and NFTs and things like that as a way to escape and to get out and to buy their freedom, essentially. And
mm.
that's a big thing that we need to consider, and we need to promote more. Um, I could talk forever about it, I guess. But at the end of the day, um, if you're an artist or a creator, look into minting your artwork. Literally, I want everybody here right now. How do I Google? How do I mint my artwork? And when you figure that out, you can go to places like OpenSea.io. Again, OpenSea.io and other places that are competitors in order to sell your artwork or your creations. So for all of us that are trying to find a way to navigate through buying our freedom, uh, this is one way to do so. And that's the big deal about it.
I think you just titled your episode "Buying Our Freedom." Um, I feel like that is super important, and I wasn't even expecting it. But the social impact um, at a crossroads with the arts and STEM all at the same time is like that's everything we do here, and the reason why super important. Like, okay, things might be buzzwords, but no, they impact people's lives and essentially are ways that people can become more free. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's gonna touch someone.
I
I
hope so.
believe
I
that.
hope so.
I believe that.
I That's my main objective, to like and make sure to inspire like others, and to get in it, and to
Mhm.
not be afraid, and to do the work, and that they can achieve their goals. I'm a boy from Panama, that came with my mom. And I feel very fortunate still, like moving to the places that I was fortunate to move to and things like that. But like at the end of the day, I attribute it all to my mother fighting hard and uh, bringing me here. And I just work hard to like, not necessarily like impress her, but like just show that I'm not ungrateful of what's been given to me, so yeah,
Absolutely. I'm sure you're making her more than proud. More than
hopefully.
proud. All right. So aside from all of your work, what would you say brings you joy?
Another great question. Honestly, it's a great question, and I know a lot of people say that a lot, but uh, the reason it's a great question is because my work brings me a lot of joy, actually. For some, and maybe it's because you know, um, if you can find something that you enjoy, like that, it doesn't feel like work or things like that. But like that's bullshit, honestly. Um, at the end of the day, like obviously I get tired of work, but it definitely consumes my life. If I were to describe the things that bring me joy outside of work, it's the simple things, honestly. Like it's nothing fancy. Like I have nothing fancy to share with you. It's simply hanging out with my family, my friends, having a good meal. Uh, I'm really into like television and film. So essentially, as a sociologist, I watch a lot of things and analyze
Mhm.
the content, the conversations, the history, the historical experience, all kinds of things like that. Um, I read a lot, like a bunch. Um, I don't know, nothing exciting really. Kind of sound like mm, I don't know, a not exciting person. Like like
It's about what brings you joy. And these are
yeah,
private
yeah,
moments that nobody knows about. And if it's reading and watching TV, if you're watching reality television, if you're watching a documentary, that's your business.
yeah.
You could catch
I'm
me
not.
doing
I'm not.
both.
I guess I'm not the most fit person in the world, but I'm trying to be better at that. But at the end of the day, it's mostly, I guess, for lack of better words, and I'm putting it in like quotes, like uh, intellectual content and analyzing it. That's what makes me happy. Like outside of work, whatever that might be, whether music, television, film, books, articles. That's what makes me happy.
Awesome.
But I'm always stoked to go hang out with buddies, and have
Yeah.
dinner. I love dining. Super into like uh I consider myself a pizza connoisseur.
Okay.
When I say
And
connoisseur,
any
I mean like
particular city?
a real connoisseur though. I don't mean like ordering nonsense pizza. Like I mean like I've driven like 3 hours to get a pizza, like, and then came back like, the same day. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
So is it okay? Now we got to talk about it though. If you're driving 3 hours,
Yeah.
what is the makeup of this pizza? Like, is it thin crust? Is it a
Well,
deep?
it has to be a slightly thin crust, like a medium thin crust, like not a
Okay.
fully thin, but not a fully thick. So like a medium thin crust, but more medium thin, more thin.
Okay.
Also lots of pepperoni. It needs to have really good cheese and sauce ingredients on it, and it most likely should be a sourdough. Um,
Okay.
that's my basic. That's my
Okay.
basic, like,
That sounds
you gotta cover
excellent.
these things. But again, I'm happy to eat anything really. One of my goals though
I
is I would like to buy a Uni pizza grill. I don't know if you've heard about it. OONI. It's on
okay.
Amazon. I encourage everyone to check it out if you're a pizza fan. Um, Uni pizza oven. It's like an outdoor. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like a perfect pizza making
Machine.
oven. It's specific for pizzas. Like you just slide in your dough in there and
Hmm.
it's like ready to rock and roll. So I know you're a chef,
Okay.
Sammy. So uh,
Oh no, I very much so
You
want some
gotta Google.
sourdough pizza. I want the uni. We will figure out.
You gotta Google it, and we're gonna everybody. I'm gonna look everywhere. Everybody, we're gonna have an uni party soon enough, and
Yes, we will.
we're gonna have to show you guys.
We're gonna claim it. All right. Part two will be buying our freedom with the uni.
So.
Okay. So on a more serious note,
Yes, let's go.
what does success mean to you?
great question.
The,
Again,
the pause. You're like,
um,
huh.
hold on. Sorry. Let's see. Success. That's a. I mean, again, yeah, you're asking really good questions. Like, I must say, your rubric of questions that you send over before is pretty on the money.
Thank you.
But while maybe this sounds lame, I don't have like a direct answer of like a mathematical answer. Like, really, it comes down to um, obtaining happiness, feeling that you have impact in what it is that you're doing, um, that you feel personal value for what it is that you're doing on a regular basis, and that you're growing in the areas that you want to grow. I think that is success. It's not about money or assets or things like that. Like, that's definitely a kind of success for sure. Um, but I think as long as you have those foundational things, that's important. Now, I will say this, and this might sound funny, but like, you also don't want to be like a full-on hippie or anything. Like, you want to like set goals for yourself. Um, and if success is just happiness for oneself, that's totally fine. But I think success requires um, growth, and setting goals for oneself. So I think that's very important. And alongside that, it also includes a sense of financial responsibility and health and wellness responsibility. I think those are the areas that define success. So you don't have to make the most money in the world. You can, you can be a regular person, like we all are, like I am, like you are, like we all are, right? um but I think as long as you focus on those different pillars, to whatever extent that you value them, um that's the most important thing. And at the end of the day, we're all judges of one another, I guess, but it's really comes down to if you feel okay with your day-to-day lifestyle, and if your family and your loved ones feel okay about that as well.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. I think this is the perfect time to segue into our final line of questioning. Are you ready for our Q&A?
Sure. Yes, sir.
All right. Who is your biggest inspiration?
That was a really difficult question, actually. Like, there's so many people that have helped me, like, I wouldn't say inspired, but helped me um mold into the person that I've become today. But I guess my biggest inspiration, and as maybe cliche as it might sound, um is my mom. My mom moved here from Panama City, Panama, as a 26-year-old woman, and brought us to this country by herself. We went through many struggles growing up, lots of learning English and a lot of things, right? Like, I remember growing up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like my favorite thing in the world. My mom always would try to get me the things for that, try to always like make me sure that I felt like worthy compared to my fellow kids. I don't want to call them colleagues, but kids. Uh,
Classmates.
yeah, classmates or whatever. So she always instilled a really strong work ethic, and that no challenge was too big for her to achieve. And I think as a person that, like, I have family, like my like siblings that have achieved higher scholastic achievements than myself, um, that I have found that strive from my mom about having to go get it and do it and achieve it, you know um and no book or anything can teach you that. It's about drive, and I think the drive that I've gotten in my life, to get to where I've gotten with, a sociology degree from San Francisco State, which is no, like, big school or anything like that. All these things, I attribute to my mother, because she really instilled hard work into me. So I have to say that.
Awesome, awesome. Shout out to your mom. She is the reason why I knew what plantain was. I'm throwing
I
it
remember, yeah, she
all
made
the way
the
back.
plantains back in the day.
Plátanos,
Yeah.
love them, especially more so now than back then. I was like, what is this? But we have been hooked ever since. And we have an inside joke, not joke, but one of like the graduations may have been our sisters, Tasha and Christine. But she was like, "We'll go get some margaritas," and we have
My
never
sister?
forgot.
Is that what she said?
No, your mom was talking
Oh, okay.
to my mom, and I think maybe Mrs. Rule. But
Oh,
we have not forgotten that little moment when she said that. That's like whenever I think of margaritas, I think of her. So
that's
shout out,
awesome.
shout out.
Shout out, shout out. I love it, Sam. Thank you.
All right. Who do you hope to uplift with your work?
You know what? I keep saying this, but I have to say it. Another great question. Like honestly, the set of questions, because everybody, just so you know, like I'm just looking around, like everybody, Sam sent me some questions. Didn't really prep for them super much, but I had a foundation, and these questions are definitely excellent. And I did take some
Yeah.
notes, so I want to promise everyone listening that I didn't take it lightly. I made sure to put in some time. But to be honest, in this case, any like young person and people with less opportunities, people of color, and those that don't realize that they're able to enter fields like technology, let's say. And I'm just saying technology because that's the field that I entered in. But you can enter into any field that you want to. But um, I remember when I worked at Yahoo, which became Verizon, I was a team manager, and I was they did a survey, and I was less than 1% of Latinos in management in tech, like at the company. So there was less than 1% Latinos managing technology people at this company.
Mhm.
Yahoo, a huge place, right? Um, and so even before that, I was really passionate about it, but ever since then, I've realized like uh opening the door for other folks to get in and to show their worth is super important. So recently we've been doing a lot of hiring and recruiting at Dapper Labs, and a lot of our candidates, aren't from tech per se, but they have the passion, they have the drive, and they have certain levels of experience that qualify, and what I find is opening the doors for others the same way that I needed a door opened for me when I first started as a intern,
Mhm.
is extremely important. And I take a lot of pride, to be honest, like legit pride, in opening doors for folks that deserve it. In all honesty, like, and especially if I can diversify things and provide inclusivity and um, help folks that might feel like they can't get into a certain specialty. That's my biggest drive. Um, so yeah, I hope that helps answer the question. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's just helping my community and my people and everybody who deserves it, essentially, to get into the door or have an opportunity to knock on the door at least.
Absolutely. That is my mission, to knock down the doors, to knock down the walls, and bring everybody in. Because I've been in those situations where I'm like, okay, leadership looks one way, Why is that? It could be diverse on the floor, but leadership on all of these teams is one way. And I'm like, okay,
Definitely.
we need to change that, y'all. That this cannot be. So anyway, how do you stay engaged with your motivation? In other words, what keeps you going?
Yeah, like that's an interesting one because I would say I don't have a good answer for this one actually. It's
Hmm,
kind of like a disease actually.
okay.
In the sense that it's kind of just instilled inside of myself. You know, personal fact, and I'm not ashamed to share it or anything like that, but like I have like ADHD and I require a lot of attention to detail and things like that to like feel to to consider it being like successful or things like that, right?
Mhm.
So it really comes down to like being built into me and just like working hard and wanting to achieve my goals. I do find that when you're excited about like what makes you happy and like want to do more, that you work harder. um there's really, I don't have a strategy for it really, like like if you're in a position in which you are struggling to find excitement or passion to do what it is that you're doing, then you're not doing what you want. You're not doing what you should be doing. You might be getting by because that's what's necessary and things like that. But deep down, I'm just going to give the advice that like continue what you need to do to continue, right? But know that you deserve more, that you could be more. And so at the end of the day, it's like being really hungry. Like like it's like asking like a starving person like, so what makes you hungry? It's like, well, because I'm starving, you know um and so for me, I'm not like, I don't want to say like I'm starving or something like that, but in a metaphorical sense, it's like you want to achieve, there's a goal that you have, and that and it won't be satisfactory until that goal is achieved. So I encourage everybody to just find that underlying drive inside of themselves that makes them want to get there. And why is the reason they want to get there? Like to better their family, to better their personal lives, to buy their freedom. Again, as we mentioned, buying freedom again, this is a big topic for me, like buying your freedom. um I think those are the main reasons, essentially, to stay engaged in your with motivation. You got to have a goal, you got to fight for it, and that's just really it. And make sure your goal is aligned with something personal to you, so that you have passion to achieve it.
I feel like I'd be remiss if I don't ask you, but what does your personal freedom look like?
That's a great question. Way to put me on the spot. So I'm just joking, I'm just joking. Um, so my personal freedom.
This is a heavy question, and I'm getting a little emotional because I'm thinking of my own freedom and what that would look like. And it's multi-layered. There's a lot. It's not just a simple question.
It is
It's
multi-layered.
not a,
I would, first and foremost, I'd recommend everyone to take time to think about that. Like not just to like make up a thought. Like
yeah.
to take, even if it takes like a month or two to come up with what it is that is your freedom. Take that time. The reason I bring up freedom is because my dad said it to me, and he says he's in a sociological world. He signed a sociological contract to say, I will do the following things to be a good person in this world. And usually you expect that the end result is that you receive something from that contract that you signed to be a good person. um and so um that doesn't seem to be the case in the real world, right? Like so it got me thinking about like, okay, so how are we going to define it? For me, I guess it would be not having to work if I didn't feel like it. That's one freedom. Like, and that requires effort. You got to like save. You also have to have the right opportunities. You also have to not be, you know, screwed over the system, and stuff like that. There's a lot of lucks that come into place in that as well. But essentially, like having that financial freedom is definitely important. Um, and having the freedom of movement and expression. And this sounds very broad, but like being able to travel and being able to speak your truth, I think
Mhm.
are the most important things. So like money and those things. I think once you achieve that, you can say and do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe your neighbor tells you something, you know what I mean? But like at that point, like you've bought your freedom and you can tell them whatever. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like so I think at that point that's when I would personally be like, okay, I feel good about, you know, nobody's got to tell me what to do or anything like that. And I know where I stand and I know what I stand for. So
Awesome. All right, that's very heavy. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be thinking about what their own personal freedom looks like and how do I get there. And it may take a while to get there, but a
I think for
blessed
most,
journey for everyone.
yeah, for most folks listening, they might think of personal freedom as like like just exclusively financial,
Mhm.
because that's what most people would think about. But I challenge folks to think about um how much financial freedom do you need, and then what are the other freedoms that are definitely required in your life to truly be happy. um so I'm not denying that financial freedom is extremely important. um but at the end of the day, create a plan, get it done, and focus on family and your true freedom, which is your spiritual and faith level freedom. Like don't, just get those book get them get an accountant or something. Get those books in order, and then let's focus on your true freedom, which is like your spirituality and everything. So that's what I definitely want to get across to the community.
I think you are taking the cake for it. Latest in an episode to get called pastor, but you definitely got the knightship of a pastor on this
Right.
one. So what is, other than your own personal church, the Church of Freedom? What's
Stop
what's
it, Sam. You make it so weird.
what's next for you?
So what's next? I don't know what's next. Whatever bring takes me on its path, really. Um, I'm trying really hard to continue my career growth. Uh, at the same time, not playing too much of a focus on it. I want to pay more of a focus on my family development in the sense of my mom, my dad, my siblings, my extended family.
Mhm.
Um, and then hopefully down the line, maybe finding someone that I can build a family with, something like that. So I really don't see too much in my personal exploration besides the continued path that I'm on. I could obviously bore everyone with the the next jobs I want to accomplish and all that kind of stuff, but really just growth in my career, growth in my personal life, growth in my personal health, um, and wellness. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really don't got any other major things. It's just kind of keeping chill like everybody else.
Wonderful. Well, we have reached the end of this interview. Diego, a dear friend, one of my first friends, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. This was an incredible conversation. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us once again. Take care. Um, See you next time.
Thanks, Sam.